The Sweet Still Life is the first short film that I had written in a long time. Gosh, now that I'm really thinking about it, I want to say that is the first one I've written in 5 years, arguably. That's a pretty lengthy amount of time. Well, certainly the first one that's been produced in that length of time. The first being The Interrogation, and there have been some other things that kind of fell underneath that, but it was all branched out from The Interrogation. So I don't know if I'm really apt to count those, but I had the inspiration, if you will, to do a sci-fi-ish fantasy type short film. Of course, when you're writing that and you're doing it on a minimal budget, and by minimal I mean everything is completely out of pocket. If there was anything that was being done here, it came out of my account. To do that is somewhat hard because you're trying to avoid it being too fantasy-ish and special effects and whatnot. And then I remembered The Twilight Zone and old episodes of The Outer Limits, and I literally went on this binge on YouTube of finding subsequently older and older and older television shows that dealt with science fiction, and admittedly some of it might be a little bit difficult to get through at this point, because you know what could be done if that same story was dropped into a 2017 setting, and they had the advantages of the technology that you and I have today. But at the same time, that same train of thought, that if they had the technology to do what we're doing now, how much better would this be? And after that particular binge, I found my ways to kind of write around it. The initial idea of The Sweet Still Life was that it was going to be a much darker story, somewhat dealing around just a flat-out kidnapping and the maniacal drive to have this trophy in this guy's home. But and there is a version of that exists on my hard drive, and maybe I'll produce it one day. But as I was doing that, I kind of ran into a brick wall. Didn't even know how to end it. It was like, so if I do revisit it, just know that it had to be reworked a bit in order for it to happen. But I changed the overall motif of that and decided that, okay, well, let's not make these central characters quite as dark. We'll bring them down a bit and humanize them a tad and see where the story goes. And fortunately for me, I was able to write that and not write myself into a corner where I couldn't figure out where to go. Again, wonderful actors and actresses here in Atlanta who came out and took the task on of trying to bring this no budget short film to life. And we're talking about Maya Morton, Philip Oslander, and Manson Thomas. They all brought it to the table and helped make this thing happen, and I certainly appreciate them for that. And without giving too much away, I like to believe, much like I saw with the earlier content I just told you about, if there were, I think the story is sound, but if there was a bigger budget, man, I really could have killed it. But well, I don't know how good a selling point that is that I'm talking about it like that. But yeah, I certainly hope that you are able to sit down, focus on what's going on screen, and enjoy what's happening. And as a side note, the original casting for this was another actress by when it was going to be a darker version. It was going to be an actress by the name of April D. But conflicts of time and projects between the both of us kind of steered that off into a different direction. So that's a little bit of a trivia point, is that we made it a point to work together, but it was originally supposed to be this and wound up being something else. You know, what are you gonna do? It happens. So, but in any case, back to the point at hand, you tuned in to look at the extra about how this thing kind of kicked off, my little take on what brought it to where it is. And that was that. So please enjoy.